Good morning, brothers and sisters. It's a privilege for my wife and I to be here together with you today, and thank you, Dr. Shongwe, for the invitation. My fellow union people that are here with us today is Pastor Mandla Lupandwana and his wife Avia, and Pastor Peter Malagudu and his wife Tsolo, and we are very happy to represent the union at this auspicious occasion of the ordination of 12 of our pastors. You know, this day brings back the memory of 1994 when I was ordained in the same hall. So I'm remembering that event today, 23 years ago. Some of you folk have asked, what is ordination? Simply stated, ordination is when the church organization recognizes God's calling to pastoral ministry. So the Seventh-day Adventist Church recognizes that these pastors, these 12 pastors, have been called by God, and we know that God is the one who calls the person. He makes it known to the pastor, and then God also makes it evident to the church through their ministry. Ordination is today when we recognize God setting them apart for full-time service. Being called by God to the honor of ministry is one of the greatest responsibilities on earth. I believe that in God's sight, it's the highest honor that anyone could ever be given to become a minister. It's higher than being the president of a country. In the book, Another Generation Almost Forgotten, there's a speech given by Sergeant Wiggins addressed to the soldiers of the 3rd platoon that are lined up before him. And I can just imagine how in his strong, authoritative voice, he states to his men, "Gentlemen, we are proud to be part of the 3rd platoon. In this platoon, there's no room for mediocrity. Only the best is acceptable to me. We are soldiers. We will think, act, and perform at all times. The 3rd platoon will be the platoon that sets the standard for this battalion. Any soldier failing to live up to this standard will be shipped out. It's my job to help you get ready for the most important assignment of your lives. I do not intend to fail." That's a powerful speech in this military context. These soldiers were proud to be soldiers. But to be an ordained pastor is a far greater honor. So my speech to the ordainees today is, pastors, we are proud to be part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We are honored to be a TOC pastor. In God's church, there is no room for mediocrity. We have no room for uncommitted loafers. We are pastors called to serve God without hesitation. We are soldiers of His heavenly kingdom. We will think, act, and serve God without hesitation. We will perform as godly pastors at all times. The TOC pastors will be the leaders that set the standard for the whole union. Any pastor failing to live up to this standard will be shipped out. It's our job as leaders to help you get ready for the most important assignment of your lives, to prepare the world for the coming of Jesus. We do not intend to fail. You know, the Apostle Paul also made a speech to Timothy, which we have in the book of 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1 to 5. It's that well-known passage, but not always applied. It says in 2 Timothy 4, verse 1, it says, I charge you therefore before God and the Lord Jesus Christ, who will judge the living and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom. Preach the word. Be ready in season and out of season. Convince, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and teaching. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but according to their own desires, because they have itching ears, they will heap up for themselves teachers, and they will turn their ears away from the truth and be turned aside unto fables. But you, Timothy, be watchful in all things. Endure afflictions. Do the work of an evangelist. Fulfill your ministry. So my message is directed specifically at our 12 ordainees today, but also the pastors like myself who have already been ordained in the past. Preach the word, not pop psychology. Preach the word. Convince, rebuke, exhort, be watchful in all things. Endure afflictions, and there will be many, as you already know. Do the work of an evangelist. Win souls for Christ. Fulfill your ministry. You know, when the pastors are consecrated and dedicated, God can do great things in His church. I often think of the concept found in Ezekiel chapter 3 verse 17. That one where Ezekiel is told that he's a watchman. It says here, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. We need pastors that are called by God. Pastors that are consecrated. We as a church, and I'm speaking especially to our church leaders, to the executive committee members, we as a church have the responsibility to guard the gate when new pastors come in. We have a responsibility to make sure that we do not bring down the good name of ordained pastors of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We are not like other churches where you commit adultery and then just carry on as nothing happened, as if nothing happened because you said sorry or you were rebaptized. That is not our biblical standard. What we need in pastors is integrity, reliability, honesty, faithfulness. Members should be able to trust their pastors. There's no room for unreliability, for unfaithfulness, no room for lying pastors, no room for cheating pastors, no room for illicit relationships, no room for shady business deals, no room for moonlighting or sidelines, no room for a taxi business on the side, no room for Hollywood movies and TV that fill your mind with the world. Soldiers are expected to give full commitment 24/7. You cannot say on the battlefield, oh, sorry, I didn't realize we're supposed to be fighting now. I just took 2 hours rest and I'm doing what I feel like doing. There's no such thing. You know, in our union, most of the pastors are faithful leaders of God. They do their best to please God. They speak out against wickedness. They are true and they work hard and they are honest. But there are some pastors that speak doubt into people's minds, doubting the spirit of prophecy, telling people that God is not so strict about Sabbath keeping or about other keeping of his commandments. Slackness regarding tithe and offerings. Basically, they contradict the clear words found in Malachi chapter 3. There are some pastors that are unfaithful to their wives. Pastors who are impure in their thoughts that they allow into their minds. Pastors that didn't see this as a calling, but merely as a lucrative job. In some countries, there are even pastors that do not believe in the 6-day creation. I thank the Lord that we don't have that problem in South Africa. As a church, we have the responsibility to employ only pastors that are consecrated and committed. Pastors who are generous with their offerings to God, faithful with their tithe, honest with the time they put in a day's work. Pastors who have integrity through and through. I remember the statement of Ellen White in the book Education, page 57. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. And we can change this to say the want of pastors. Pastors who will not be bought or sold. Pastors who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Pastors who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Pastors whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. Pastors who will stand for the right though the heavens fall. A pastor needs to be called, and called by God. Paul gave those instructions in 2 Timothy 4 that we read. I charge you there before God. God is the one who will judge us as pastors, and the word tells us that we will be judged more severely because we are leaders in God's church. Preach the word. Be ready in season and out of season. Convince, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and teachings. God calls us as pastors to stand up for the right, even if we have to stand alone. As pastors, we should lead, we should show others the way. Ellen White also says that the churches will seldom reach a spiritual standard higher than the pastor. So if the churches are mediocre, we have to check how the pastor is. Pastors, you and I cannot operate without a sincere devotional life. At least an hour a day, spending time in the presence of God. Not necessarily preparing a sermon. That's in the presence of the Bible, and that's good. But it's not in the presence of God. So it's in addition to that. As a pastor, people are looking up to you. They see whether you are committed or not. They see whether you are faithful or not. You can fool a few people for a while, but sooner or later your character will show. As a true pastor, you have a passion to make disciples. Notice I said make disciples, not just have baptisms, but make disciples. That is our calling. As a true pastor of God, you do not have time for politics. You do not have time to strive for position. You are a man of God, a woman of God. In the book Acts of the Apostles, there's a little paragraph about pastors that says, the heart of the true minister is filled with an intense longing to save souls. Time and strength are spent. Toilsome effort is not shunned. Others must hear the truths that brought to his own soul such gladness and peace and joy. He goes out with invitations and pleadings. He seeks to win souls to Jesus. And in heaven, he is numbered among those who are called and chosen and faithful. There's another statement, and this one comes from Review and Herald 1902. She writes here, in this age, I can almost add the words 2017. In 2017, there are many preachers, but there's a scarcity of able, holy ministers. Pastors filled with love that dwelt in the heart of Christ. The fruit borne by many who profess the religion of Christ is pride, self-confidence, love of the world, fault-finding, bitterness, envy. These are not my words, these are from Review and Herald. The lifestyle of these pastors is in sharp contrast to the character of Christ. I know I'm not perfect. I know you are not perfect. But I know that slowly but surely the Lord's character should become more and more evident in our lives. If we are becoming more like the world, then we have lost the plot. There's another statement that's very telling in Testimonies Volume 3 that basically says unconsecrated ministers discourage the members. How true is that? Unconsecrated pastors discourage the members. When ministers go into Facebook and say that they don't need to pay tithe, when ministers don't do their work, when they're uncommitted, when they're morally impure, members are discouraged. And God is dishonored. And sadly, when one pastor fails, the reputation of all pastors is brought into the gutter. I'm so glad that we have so many pastors here today that are Christ-like. Their lives are a witness. God is asking us as all pastors to be an example of His character. Let the world see in you integrity, honesty, and faithfulness. Let them see the love of God in the way we relate to our church members, in the way we relate to our wives and our children. Let them see the peacefulness of Christ. Remember, Jesus was the one who said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you." If contention surrounds you, you are not living as Christ wishes. Pastors, if we truly love God, our lives will show it. Our characters will be more like Him. We will be godly. We will be consecrated. We will be, I'm hesitating even to use the word, but we should be holy. And holy does not mean sinless, like we can never sin. It means that we are completely consecrated to God. We will love to reach others with the gospel. In conclusion, Sergeant Wiggins' words were, "There is no room for mediocrity." And I say to you, men of God, today, there is no room for mediocrity. There is no room for unfaithfulness. God needs pastors who are as true to duty as the needle to the pole. Amen.